Now let's write a program that has more than one button. This next program has 3 buttons. One of the buttons, the middle one, is not going to do anything when you click it. The other buttons will do something. And see if you can figure out what that is before you type this program in and run it. The code you see here contains the 3 button fields and the constructor for our class, ButtonDemo3. In the constructor, we're setting the text of our left button to say disable. The middle button will say middle, and the right button will say enable. Notice a couple of things here. First, we're setting the action commands for the left and right buttons. The text arguments in these calls are going to act as identifiers for the buttons, so that when we respond to a button click, we know which button was pressed. Also, notice that the right button is initially disabled. When a button is disabled, it's grayed out and it cannot be clicked. So the right button will be grayed out at the start of the application. After initializing the buttons, we add the ButtonDemo3 object, which, remember, is also the content pane. We add the ButtonDemo3 object as an action listener to both the left button and the right button. Then we add all the buttons to the content pane. If you like, you can add this code to a new project in your IDE before we move on to the next slide. When you do that, make sure you add the boilerplate code from the last project and tweak it appropriately. Note that even once you add the boilerplate code, the code still won't compile because, well, why don't I let you type it in and see for yourself why the code won't compile. I'll give you 5 seconds to pause the video so you can type in the code, starting from now. Okay, the code didn't compile because the action performed method has not been implemented yet. The class declaration says that it implements action listener. Well, action listener is an interface containing a single method signature, action performed. We're going to implement that in the next slide. Here's the action performed method. The first thing it does is check whether the event's action command is disable. If it is, it disables both the left button and the middle button, and it enables the right button. If the action command is not disable, it must be enable. We know this because we're only listening to 2 buttons, and one of them has the command disable and the other one has the command enable. When it finds the enable button was clicked, it enables both the left and middle buttons, and it disables the right button. Go ahead and type this method into your ButtonDemo3 class, but before running it or before you click any buttons, try to figure out what the application is going to do. I'll give you 5 seconds to pause the video to do that, starting from now. Okay, so this is what you should have seen. The enable button is initially grayed out. Clicking the middle button does nothing except change the focus. And clicking the disable button disables the middle button. Clicking the enable button will enable it again. So the disable and the enable labels for the buttons really refer to the middle button, and the disabling or enabling of the left and right buttons are simply side effects of changing the middle button.